Oh my goodness.
But good evening, guys. If you're here and you can hear me, definitely go ahead and drop a hello in the chat. Today, we're going to be talking about some really important things. And if you're new to my channel, make sure that you hit that subscribe button and let's make this active. Comment, let me know where you're coming from, where you're viewing this from. But if you haven't, heard, I know it's a holiday weekend. So some of you may not have heard what happened, but that's why I decided to go ahead and kind of steer away from my normal business credit and credit related videos, even though this is definitely going to be related to credit. And we're going to get into all of that at the end of this video. Now, with that being said, let's just jump right into it because that's what we do on this channel. Now, to give you a quick recap, last year there were actually two different student loan forgiveness plans that was introduced, that was introduced, right? So we had the PSLF, which was the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Plan, right? And that was where pretty much all government employees had the ability to have 100% of their student loans forgiven. Okay, now that was a big one. And if you have ever, worked for the government, I think it was that you had to be, there was a certain amount of time. I can't remember if it was 5 years or 10 years, but if you were a government employee, you had the ability without even applying to have all of your student loans forgiven. But then you had the primary student loan debt relief plan from the Biden and Harris administration. And that was the one where you could actually get up to $20,000 of your student loans forgiven. Now, the way that one works, just to do a quick recap, you had to, as an individual, have an income that was under $150,000 per year. And if you were head of household or filing as married and joint, then your combined income needed to fall under $250,000. And then that application opened back on October 15th in 2022. And then again, that was where the news came at the beginning of this year in 2023, when they pretty much put a pause on that whole situation. And then the consolation prize was essentially that Biden agreed to let Biden extend that time period where there was no interest on your student loan and you didn't have to make a payment, although they were not able to forgive anyone's student loans, right? So that's where we are today. Now, fast forward to where we are today. Here is the latest, and however you feel about it, right? Here's the latest. So as of today, as of like 2 days ago, the U.S. Supreme Court issued a decision blocking the Biden administration from moving forward with their one-time student debt relief plan. You heard that correct. They blocked it. Okay. So this means that essentially they're not going to be able to honor that plan. Okay. Now, I I still have a student loan myself that I was hoping to get relieved. At the same time, as a hardworking man, I'm not going to cry about it because I know I have the ability to pay it off. Because I don't have that victim mentality, and I hope you guys don't as well. But when it comes to this, right? Biden said that 16 million people had already been approved for the program, okay? Which would have given them, remember, anywhere from 10,000 to 20,000 in relief. So the big question is, what does this mean for you, right? What does this mean for you? So if you are like me and you have student loans to this day, I've already kind of said it, but even if you were approved, all right, you will no longer you will no longer receive any type of relief under that program. Okay. Now, interest rates will start accruing on September 1st, because remember when this first came out and they announced this student loan debt relief program during COVID, the first thing that happened was they said that, okay, we're going to pause student loan payments. We're not going to have any interest for this time period. And they extended that, I want to say 3 or 4 times. And that's still the case right now. No one has to make payments technically, and there is no interest. So, of course, if you are making payments, then you're getting interest free, payments, and everything's going right to the principal, paying down the principal. But as of today, or as of September 1st, because of the update that we just received, that's when the interest will resume accruing. Okay, September 1st, 2023, interest will begin accruing. Now, right after that, in October, that's when everyone will have to resume making payments. And I want to stress again, in October this year, all right, your student loan will not be forgiven by then. So on October 1st or October 15th, or whenever your personal student loan company says you have to pay, you're going to have to make sure you make that payment. Do not miss that payment. We're going to talk about how this impacts your credit a little later. Okay. Now, on to, and I apologize for not changing the banner, but yeah, that is the latest update on the student loan forgiveness plan. All right, it's dead. At least that plan was. Now let's talk about what's the new plan, right? So according to the student loan aid website, and I should have said this from the beginning. Now, anything that I tell you, all right, I'm always getting it from the source. I'm not, just making things up, and I'm not going on rumors. All the information that I'm giving you in this video, I'm getting directly from the studentaid.gov website. All right, that's the official government website for all things pertaining student loans. And matter of fact, while I'm at it, let me just go ahead and also remind you guys. Now, if you want to learn more about how to avoid student loan scams, I highly recommend you check out my other student loan video. My original one that I made is still on my channel about the student loan forgiveness plan. There, I go into great detail about how to avoid student loan scams. All right, because my prediction is that with this news coming out, and a lot of people are not even realizing that the student loan debt relief plan is dead, and nobody, as of now, in relation to the Biden student loan forgiveness plan that we all have been following for the past year and some change, is dead. The scam artists are going to be able to take advantage of that. And for people who are receiving these phishing emails and receiving phone calls from people claiming that they're going to help you with student loan forgiveness, unfortunately, you got to make sure that you're staying up to date and you know what's going on to avoid those scams. So check out that video. Now, with that being said, right, again, we're on number 3, the topic number 3, which is Biden's new plan. Now, according to the student aid website, when designing, this is a statement from them, I'm reading it verbatim. When designing a new student relief program, the Department of Education will consider ways to ensure that borrowers making payments do not reduce their eligibility for debt relief. Now, what does that mean? So even if you were loosely following, what's been going on this year, when they went through the courts and, Biden and the other guys were going back and forth about what changes needed to be done. And, there was some compromise that had to be made, right? And one of the biggest compromise was that Biden was fighting to at least make sure that payments could continue to not, well, they were forcing, making sure that Biden understood that, listen, not only are we going to continue to, work out this whole whether or not the student loans will be forgiven or not, you need to choose a date to resume payments, because we can't continue to let people not pay for 2 years, right? Repayments have to resume. So that was the first break in the update. But then, just recently, in a recent statement, or in recent news, the U.S. Supreme Court made the decision to completely just block it. So now the Biden administration cannot move forward at all, with their one-time student loan debt relief plan. Now, in a recent statement, Biden actually said that the administration will invoke the 1965 Higher Education Act to allow Secretary Cardona to compromise, this is quote unquote, to compromise, waive, or release loans under certain circumstances. So the biggest thing that we have to try to figure out and watch for is we gotta learn and figure out now what exactly will be this new criteria, right? And remember that says under certain circumstances. So I feel like it's going to be really, really strict. But some people may still get eventually student loans forgiven up to a certain amount. We don't know yet. But if you don't know what the Higher Education Act of 1965 is, now the big thing here and why they mention it and why it matters is the financial assistance for students is covered in Title IV of the Higher Education Act of 1965. Okay, so they're thinking maybe that's a loophole that they'll try to use to still help people in some way. Now, he also, meaning Biden and the Biden Harris administration, they also plan to enact a 12-month repayment plan or repayment program that would help people with student loan debt avoid defaulting on their loans. And if they could not pay, and or if they can't pay, right, and avoid years of bad credit ratings. So that's where that's gonna take us right into the fourth and final topic, which is how does this impact your credit? All right. So the reason why Biden is saying, hey, all right, we struck out, right? We got 2 strikeouts. So, the only thing essentially he was able to do was extend the non-payment all the way until October, and everybody has to begin paying from that point. The second big strikeout was the fact that, okay, they completely blocked the student loan relief plan that he's been talking about from the time that, he was running for president. Now, the third thing in his final straw is at least trying to create a new plan that would help you if you already have gone in default or if you're in danger of going into default. So that means when you go from having an open and current student loan to having essentially like a charge off or a collection account, if it goes to the point where it cannot be revived and your credit score drops tremendously, right? Your credit is essentially ruined. All right. So what's the biggest takeaway from this update? And this is why I wanted to go live and talk about this. Okay. The biggest update is the fact that loan payments will be due in September. And the biggest mistake that you could ever make was to decide that you are not going to make those payments or not going to resume making payments. If you don't know, I'm the CEO of GreenScale Credit, which is primarily a credit restoration business. And I can't tell you how many of my clients or how many consultations I've had with potential clients where they told me, I don't plan on making my student loan payments because I think they'll be forgiven. Listen, the smoke is clearing, the dust is settling. Okay. The chances of your student loans being forgiven, I hate to tell you, is unlikely at this point. It may still happen, but to play it safe, you need to make sure that you are prepared to begin making those payments again in October. All right. Because if you miss just one late payment, your credit score could drop 100 points, well over 100 points, especially if you have good credit and you don't have any late payments and you add a new late payment, your scores can easily drop, 50, 75, 100 points or more. Now, how can you prepare? All right, I'm gonna pull up my screen. I'm gonna show you something that comes directly from the student aid website. All right. Now, this is in the FAQ. So if you go to studentaid.gov, right, and you go over to the FAQs about the student loan for debt relief program, this is what you're going to see. All right. And when you come there, I want you to kind of go through and honestly read all of the FAQs. I honestly want you to. But the biggest thing I want to point out first is how can you prepare? I love number one because that's the most important. Because, for example, I'm going to tell you my student loan in 2021 or 22 actually changed loan services. So, for example, some of you may have NailNet. Some of you may have a different division of the U.S. Department of Education. And some, like me, was switched over to a company called Moella, right? So you want to make sure you know who your loan servicer is, because if you log into the previous account from the previous loan servicer thinking you're going to make a payment and you don't, you find out that your account is closed, I don't want you to make the mistake of thinking that your student loan is forgiven or that your student loan was closed. So hear me and hear me clearly, as you see right here on the student loan or studentaid.gov website. Number one, you want to make sure that you know which loan servicer is yours, so you can log in and check out, what your payment will be and the date of when it's going to be due. Now, the second thing it says here is you also want to update your contact information. So if you've moved in the last year or even 2 years, you want to go ahead and go to your studentaid.gov account, sign in or create an account if you don't have one, and make sure your information is updated so that you can get information from your loan servicer about your student loan. Now, the third thing and the most important thing as well is, as you see there, now you also want to consider applying for an IDR. An IDR plan is an income driven repayment plan. So for those of you who are trying to figure out, if you can afford your student loan payments and you're trying to figure out how much they're going to be and if it's going to be too much of a burden, you may want to consider going ahead and signing up for an IDR plan. Now, IDR plan is really simple to do. All you got to do is go to the website and it'll allow you to do it, right? They're going to review your situation and then, they'll be able to give you an affordable payment plan based on your income. Now, also, I want you to think about the Fresh Start initiative and the Fresh Start plan. So for those of you, if you actually have a student loan that did go into default, right? I want you to go ahead and look into the Fresh Start plan. Now, all you have to do is go to the studentaid.gov website, or if you just simply Google Fresh Start studentaid.gov, it'll bring you to the website. Now, the website is right there. If you can see it on my screen, is my ed debt or debt.ed.gov. So myeddebt.ed.gov. All right. When you go there, you're going to log into your account. Again, if you don't have one, you simply create one, and then you'll be able to go through the process. Or you can call this number right here on the screen, which is 1-800-621-3115. All right. Now, there you'll be able to talk to somebody about the Fresh Start initiative. So remember, we talked about how Biden wants to come out with this 12-month repayment plan, which is completely designed to help you save your credit and not go into default, and basically easily make sure that your student loan account can go back into the positive and not go into negative. Now, that's really important because I'm going to tell you, your student loans. Now, if you don't know, because you've never looked at your credit report and you're not used to looking at your credit report, the first thing you'll notice is if you went to school more than a month, I'm trying to tell you, you probably have like 8 or 10 or 12 individual student loans being reported to your credit report, and all of them sync up together. They should all have the same status. So imagine if you let your student loan go into default, all 8 or 9 of those accounts are going to flip to negative, which can be extremely hard, especially even if you were to hire a credit restoration company to dispute those accounts. Instead of having one account to remove, there will be like 8, 9, or 10, or however many you have. So that's why it's really, really important. And so this person saying, I love your honesty. Unlikely, right? The odds in Vegas, I mean, yeah, it's unlikely, man. I don't want to say that it ain't happening. I don't want to say that, but the odds are not in our favor when it comes to these student loans. Okay. And I've always said from the beginning, I will believe it when I see it in terms of these student loans. Now, the last thing I want to show you is, again, another one. So you also want to consider enrolling in the affordable repayment plan. So the IDR was the income driven. Now, if you have low income and you're just trying to really figure out, what's the lowest payment you can possibly have. The beautiful thing about federal student loans is you have so many options. That's why it breaks my heart when I see people that just completely abandoned their student loans and let it go into default, because you have all of these options at your fingertips. You can go into forbearance, you can do a deferment plan, you can do an IDR plan, or you can enroll in an affordable repayment plan. So what is that? It says when you get out of default, right? You will choose a type of payment plan to repay your loans. Okay. Most borrowers enrolling in Fresh Start, about 80% of them choose the income driven plan, right? But there are other plans, but I'm just letting you know that Fresh Start, based on your family size, the number of dependents you support, your tax filing status, your annual income, and your spouse's AGI, which is adjusted gross income, they will help you estimate what your monthly payment will be. And when you go to this link and I'm gonna drop these links later on the replay for you guys watching the replay. If you go down to the description right now, you'll see all these links, and you'll go right down here in the this blue link, and you click estimate your payments with loan simulator, and it will help you figure out what the best strategy is. Okay. Now, the last thing I want to go ahead and tell you guys and warn you guys about is, I already told you, remember, your student loans are always, especially again, unless you were only in school for a month, you're going to have multiple student loans showing up. Okay. Like that's just how it works. All right. So, if you find that your student loans are transferred from one lender or one loan servicer to another, what's going to happen is your your old student loan account is going to still be there on your credit report, but the status is going to change from open or whatever it was to transferred or indeterminate. So indeterminate means that your student loan is considered neutral. It's not positive, it's not negative, it's neutral. So if it's indeterminate or if it's in the transferred status, you can dispute to have this account removed. And that way, the old account is removed if you have late payments. Now, if you have if you never missed a payment, just leave the account alone. There's no need to dispute it. But again, if you have at any point missed a payment, or your current payment status is past due or was past due, you want to check to make sure if you now have a new loan servicer, your student loan will be reported as a new account with the same date. They don't change the open date, that'll stay the same, but your actual new loan servicer will be reporting it under their name. So let's say you previously had the U.S. Department of Education, like Nelnet, and all these others, but now it's showing as Moella. So now it'll show as Moella, and your previous one that says, let's say, U.S. Department of Ed, that one will change to transferred or indeterminate. And if you have any late payments on there, that's the perfect time to dispute, to have that student loan removed. Now you can focus on making your on-time payments, and your credit scores and your credit report will look so much better. All right. So if you need help with that, of course, I would certainly love to help you guys with my business, which is GreenScale Credit. you can, simply go over to our website, which is greenscalecredit.com, or click the link down in the description to schedule a free consultation. We'll give you a call. We'll talk to you about your student loans and any negative or derogatory item that's kind of, hanging over your head like a dark cloud. We can educate you on how you can get those removed. And most importantly, if you hire us, how we can take care of those using the different laws and statutes. All right, which is factual disputing. Okay. Now, let me check the comments real quick. So this Facebook user says, is there any credibility to disputing student loan debt because they were transferred? Yeah, I'm honestly, I'm sorry. I don't know if you made this comment before or after I was just explaining, but yeah, when you dispute let's say a transferred student loan that has late payments, you can dispute them various ways, right? Metro 2 is going to be probably one of the best ways to dispute a student loan, which has to do with certain categories. And let's say there's missing data in a category that's not there. You can call them out on that and point out, the way they are disputing certain data. If they're disputing it wrong, if it's inaccurate, if it isn't full, or what we call if it's incomplete, you can dispute it. Now, if it's flat out inaccurate, you can also dispute it. You can dispute the late payments themselves, or you can dispute dates and other information that are on your credit report, even the status of your student loan. So if it's transferred and it has negative payment history, you would definitely want to dispute it to have it removed. All right. Now, again, if you've never missed a payment, there's absolutely no reason to dispute or try to remove that transferred or indeterminate student loan. Just leave it alone and focus on making sure that your current student loan with your new loan servicer is current and stays that way. All right. Now, if for whatever reason you feel like you just don't have the money come October to make any payments at all, then you definitely want to pick up the phone and call your loan servicer and just see what your options are. I can't guarantee that they will be able to put you onto a forbearance plan because, for those of you who haven't used it and those of you who have, you don't get like an unlimited number of times you can go on forbearance, right? They may tell you that you've already used all of your forbearance number of months that are available. Then you can look at deferment, but you definitely want to take advantage and give them a call, because unless you have a private loan, if you have a federal student loan, you don't want to neglect those benefits and features of having that federal loan. That's why one of the worst things is, again, when you have a student loan and you just completely give up and you think that, hey, I don't got it, so I'm just going to ignore it. That's the worst thing you can do. Just pick up the phone and give them a call, and you'll be surprised what they'll do to make sure that you stay current without defaulting. All right. Now, I wanted to make this video, honestly, as straight to the point and as straightforward as possible. I love you guys. I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening, and we will see you again next Sunday. Next Sunday will most likely be about business credit. So for all of my entrepreneurs and small business owners or aspiring small business owners, come ready with your questions, because we're going to have a big Q&A at the end, and we're going to see if we can help you build and establish business credit. Thank you all, and have a good night.